Hi, and welcome to today's session of ASL Conversation. As always, we sit down with brilliant African scholars who are studying different things in various programs and different departments in MTU. Today, we sit down with Kobina Ofori. He has a lot to share with us, and I have a lot of questions to ask him. So if you want to know more about being a student in America, being a student in Michigan, and most importantly, being in the snowing area, come with me and let's get chatted. As always, I'm your presenter and your host, Frederica Martinez. Come with me. Today on this platform, we have an interesting person. He goes by name Kobina Ofori, or as our Nigerian brothers will call him, Kobina. Welcome, Kobina.
Thank you.
So, Kobina, or I should just mention Kobina.
Yeah, just say Kobina.
I'm sure by now you've gotten used to being called Kobina.
I mean, what can I do? I try to correct, it's Kobina, and they'll be like, Kobina? I'll be like,
so wait.
Just call me Kobi.
wait, so is it just our Nigerian, or not just, I don't think the Nigerians are the only people calling you by Kobina.
Right.
Everyone else calls you Kobina, except, of course, Ghanaians who know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. Even like white, they'll be like Kobina.
So what's the short?
I was like, just call me Kobi. And even that one, they'll be like, Kobi. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So sometimes when I'm like introducing myself to people, like especially in my group, and if they are more white, I have to pronounce it like Kobi. I remember one time Monica was part of my group, and we were having a meeting, and then I had to introduce myself. I'm like, my name is Kobina Ofori, and Monica was like,
you started saying Kobina, right? I mean, sometimes it's one of the things that you do to integrate, and unless of course you want to insist on being called in the way that you have always been called.
Yeah.
Is it a matter of being able to integrate easily, or for me, I really like you. I hate to have my name pronounced wrong, so I just go by Fred, and people like, Fred, is that not the guys? I'm like, let's stick to Fred, right? So is it for you, by accepting Kobina, is it because it's easier, so you don't have to keep repeating your name, or you just don't care how it's pronounced, so long as you are called, it's good?
I've tried with a couple of people like to correct my name, but they always find a way to go back to their own accent. And I mean, I think it's an accent issue because people will be like Kobina, which follows our Ghanaian accent, but they cannot do that. So to make it easy for them and not make them feel like they're pronouncing my name wrong, I try to at least say it in their accent, like maybe Kobina, and they can pronounce it right away, and they're so proud of themselves to mention that.
So when it comes to names, right? Names are heavy. They have a lot of meanings, right? Now, when you are advising somebody coming here, because Africans, we have different names. And I'm sure even I can't pronounce some of the names from African brothers and sisters from other nationalities. So what would you advise that as a person, do you advise that we insist on having our names pronounced right? Or you understand that accents matter, and sometimes not because they are doing it intentionally, it's just how. What would be the advice? It's just on being,
Well, what I'll say is that, so I met some Nigerian friends, and they were like, their language is tonal.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you change the tone, you mean something else. And so let's say someone's name is Kofi, and then you pronounce it Kofi. Maybe Kofi means something bad, and they don't like to get associated with that.
I have an experience with that. I know Titi, hi. You see, because I remember pronouncing her name, she had to help me out so many times because he kept telling me if I say Titi, it means something else. If I say Titi, so I always have to be conscious on the fact that I might be saying something else that might not necessarily be her name. So I get that, but what if they pronounce your name and it means something else?
Yeah, then
it off.
I mean, if it's really offensive, like if it doesn't mean like something really bad in quotes, just roll with it. Or if it's very offensive, look for another simple name, maybe a short form of the name. Like a lot of let's say I'll say Nigerians have Oluwa Nefe Simi, but it can be shorter to say Simi or Nefe.
Okay.
So you can find like to help yourself and also to help the. So I'll say maybe find a short form, like I like to be called Kobe because it's short and it doesn't have to sound offensive. So if you're really particular about names, find a simple way of pronouncing your name which won't be so offensive.
When we say Kobe can also be a bit confusing because there are more than one Kobe's on campus, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I can just say Kobe from chemistry, unless the other ones are also in chemistry.
Right.
Are they?
No. So for instance, like this is a real situation in my department. I'm Kobina, and there's another guy called Kobina. But you know, this, if you're not a Ghanaian, you cannot really differentiate. So when we go to the department office, and then the coordinator wants to address us, be like, Kobina. And it's like a whole lot of confusion.
Yeah.
So it's true. I mean, we even came up with Kobe 1, Kobe 2, depending on how early you got here.
Yeah.
So people call me, Kobe 1, and then there will be, Kobe 2 or Kobe Junior.
Interesting. Yeah. So let's talk about, since you are talking about your coordinator, let's talk about your problem, chemistry. Chemical engineering, not chemistry. My bad. Okay. So let's talk about chemical engineering. What do you do?
So,
do you mix chemicals for us to what? Brain?
So the basic idea of chemical engineering is to take what nature has given us in the form of raw material, and then we process it into making like useful products for consumption. So for instance, we have shea nuts, and we know that shea nuts has butter in there. So we design a process to like crush the nuts, extract the butter, refine it for you to apply as cream, and then you're happy. We get your money, and we build our house to spend it. We get rich by giving you cream. So that's basically what chemical engineering is about. It's not mainly chemistry, although we do chemistry, but it's mainly on developing processes. We call it unit operations. That helps to convert some of these raw materials into useful products.
So I want us to stay on that for a minute. Let's talk about applying to the department. Because I know these are some of the questions that people out there would like to know, right?
Right.
How you get in. Is the process the same as being, a student in Ghana? Is it different? What did you have to do? What steps do you, concrete steps actually, that you had to take to get admission?
Well, it's a little bit relative because I've seen like different people with different background being admitted into the department. For instance, there is a guy who did petroleum engineering as bachelor's and master's, but for some reason he was admitted into PhD chemical engineering. So it really depends on your background, like your capability of changing or your capacity to respond to some of these changes. But I mean, every school is keen on academic integrity. Your grades should show that you're a good student. So for my example, I wanted to be a graduate assistant, and back in Ghana, if you want some of these opportunities, you have to show some experience. So what I would say is that if you have a goal that you want to be an assistant, maybe graduate research or teaching assistant, you should get some form of experience. It makes it easy when you apply. For instance, it doesn't matter what department you are, because we've seen other people from even from environmental science coming to do chemical engineering. I'm sure they will consider mechanical, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that get some experience that tells your story, that tells that you can do the work, you can change, you can respond to some of these things. And then I think if your story adds up, you'll get admission.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you're talking about experience, because one of the things that I know for the humanities, every little experience that you get counts.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be related to what you want to pursue academically. Every little thing that has to do with life, that has to do with being able to improve upon yourself, that engages you with, something productive and with people, it counts as experience. Is it the same for your case?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you mentioned experiences, right? And as I said, in the humanities, experience counts when you are applying. Every little thing that you've done doesn't have to be in connection with what you want to pursue in graduate school or even your research interest. Is it the same for your program?
A little bit, because most of the time, if let's say you want to be supported, you have to have like experience either in research or teaching. So it's very important because let's say myself, I was a teaching assistant back in Ghana. So when I came here, the first task they gave me was graduate teaching assistant, which helped support help put some money in my pocket.
Yeah.
Very important. So the experiences matter. I would say I also had some volunteering experience. I don't know if they considered that in my application, but I think it's a good experience to have. Some of these things.
So when you are back home and instead of doing things that are always academic, you should be able to diversify your experiences, right? Not necessarily the things that you do in the classroom, but other things that helps you become more socialized, more universal, more engaged, and more outgoing, right?
Do something for your community.
So let's I want us to spend some time talking about your graduate assistantship thing. Is that I think it's something that everyone does, all international students, graduate students do in your department, or I'm getting it wrong. What are some of the qualifications? What makes somebody eligible for that kind of position?
So ideally, to qualify for some of these graduate research or teaching assistantship, they look out for PhD students.
Okay.
People who are going to be here for a while.
Wow.
People who they can put to work, because masters is really short, and in the US there is this thing that the possibility of getting support for masters is a little bit limited, although I've seen people get support for masters. Okay. So in my department, mostly all these positions go to PhD students.
Okay.
But recently we saw that some of the positions were shifted to master's students because we didn't have that many PhD students in the department. So you can be lucky if you're a master's student. But if you really, really want to have some of these positions which supports you, I would say go for a PhD or like have experience teaching or doing research, and then you can be considered based on that.
Okay, so what is your day like? A day for a research assistant in your department?
Oh my God. A day so it solely depends on your supervisor and their work ethics.
All right.
I'll say that people can be lucky they have relaxed supervisors who don't put a lot of pressure on them. But when there's a deadline, remember that you are not going to sleep.
Okay.
They'll be on you day and night. Some people have supervisors who push them every day to get the task done.
Okay.
My supervisor is flexible. He will put pressure on you at the appropriate time, and then he will make your work flexible sometimes. For instance, in the summer, we were looking at applying for some sponsorship, or we had some ideas that we wanted to apply for grants, but we didn't have data, and the deadline was near. So what happened was he called me and he's like, "Kobina, this is what we have. We don't have much time. Are you able to work hard for this period and relax for this period?" I'm like, okay, I can try. So that period, I was like, my mind was thinking that I'm going to get less sleep, because sometimes I leave the lab like 1 a.m. Yeah.
Oh.
And I didn't have a car, so and I leave.
And it's winter.
It's winter, and I live like 30 minutes from school, so you can imagine the stress I had to go through. But it was rewarding now.
Exactly.
Because after that, I don't even remember the stress. All I remember is
the result.
2 weeks. I guess out there, I'm being paid because of the work that I did.
Yeah,
so I feel proud that I was able to do something like that, and that's what it's encouraging. doing something that puts sweat on you, that like brings out the best in you, and then sitting back later on and enjoying the fruits of your work. So I think it's a balance. It can be stressful, it can be easy.
It can be easy. So, but is there not an engagement with students, or is just you and your supervisor? Do you get, that opportunity, that option? Are there instances where you need to work with other students, not necessarily graduate students, but you need to teach?
Yeah.
Are those part of your role or your responsibility as a research?
Yes. So, for instance, I had to train some people for our lab because I've had some experience in the lab. So let's say there are new students. It's not like a defined responsibility for you on a paper that Kobina is responsible for training undergrads or something.
All right.
It just comes to be like, okay, Kobina, can you take this guy through this process?
Okay.
And you cannot say no. I mean, you can say no.
But
say no to your professor. Please.
So you always have to be in that space where you're able to pick up new jobs, new roles as and when it comes.
Yes, you have to be dynamic. You have to be able to be creative. Sometimes he'll be like, get me this data tomorrow. And if you did it, like you did it on your own, you can just give it. Or then you have to spend the whole night in the lab and get that result.
The whole night? Does it come with food?
You have to figure it out yourself. Like it's a sacrifice. It's a trade. Sometimes you get to sleep, and sometimes you get not to even come to the lab, and sometimes you have to be in the lab. So it's a trade-off, and I think it's a good balance. It trains you for some of the unexpected things that happen. Like some of these experiences, I don't see them as bad. I see them as building myself, building a future where I'm not afraid of any unexpected sees. Right. But please forgive me if you have dictionaries, check. But it builds. It kind of builds you for. You are ready for any kind of.
So when those times that you need to spend hours and hours on end at the lab, and it's winter, what are your options? Going home, sleeping, the basics. What do you do? Or you just skip it all?
I have to go home. I didn't want to sleep in the lab because some of us, when we wake up in the morning, we don't look really good.
That's funny.
And we don't want.
He's lying. He's always handsome. He always use that shit. Trust me.
We don't want people meeting us in the office with a smelly mouth and you can't say good morning. So I always try to go, even if it's late. I go home, just rest, get something to eat, clean up, and then come back. And sometimes I get to go home early. Like, for instance, one day I had to leave school like 3 a.m. I went home, I got home like 4 a.m. I slept a little bit and I came back to school like 9 a.m. And then I went home very early, like 1 p.m. And I slept 2 hours the afternoon and the night. So,
So you have to, if somebody is thinking about, applying or being a student in your department, that person need to be able to understand and conscientize themselves that you are likely to have irregular hours, right?
Yes. As a PhD student, there's a website called PhD Comics. You can check some of the funny things people write. Yeah. And it's not just funny comments, it's real life thing that happens in the life of a PhD student.
Sometimes I go there when I'm very stressed.
Yeah.
I go there and I listen to other people's, posts or like voice notes. Sometimes I just look at other people's posts. I'm like, oh, so my experience is not with me. I'm not alone. Let's do this. Then, it gives you the morale to know that you are not slacking, you are not being lazy, you are not being dumb. It's normal.
Yeah.
It's part of the process, right? So it's 1 a.m. You need to go home. You have no car. It's winter.
Yeah.
How do we get home?
One thing is that Houghton is very safe.
Yes.
Even if you walk on the street, you don't have to worry about someone pulling a gun. If you don't trespass, like, I haven't had any issue where someone has put up. I haven't even seen a gun in Houghton.
Yes.
Except a hunting gun or so, or in Walmart where
they sell.
Yeah. So it's pretty safe. I just dress properly and then I walk home. And sometimes there are people around and there are police patrols, so you feel like it's not really scary. And then
so Houghton is safe, right?
Houghton is very safe. I would say, like, I don't want to compare to other states, but like Houghton, the people are nice. They know that most of the African students are students, so they are not like aggressive or like offensive.
So, I mean, it's safe, but don't be complicit.
Right.
So when you say you dress properly, what does a properly dressed African student walking through and thriving through the snow look like?
Well, you have to feel the weight of your clothes. If you don't feel the weight of your clothes,
you're not properly dressed.
Yeah, especially when it's windy, the wind has this penetrating power. Like, you don't know where it will enter your body, but you feel it penetrating. Like, shoom, and then it's so chilly. So you have to make sure that you are heavy. You should feel your coats heavy. If you don't have heavy coats, make sure that you wear a lot of inner dresses.
Okay.
Like, I used to wear like a singlet, and I'll wear a round neck, and I'll wear another t-shirt, and a long sleeve shirt.
Okay, let's keep that list going.
Before my coat, so I have like 5 layers. I feel heavy. I'm resistant to the wind. I'm like, bring your best, and then you move. But it's not that bad if you are covered. I remember this experience when I came here. I wanted to get a SIM card from AT&T, and I lived like 15 minutes away from the shop. I didn't know. I didn't wear gloves.
Okay.
So I thought I would just pocket in my coat and then just walk on the shop.
Bad idea.
On the way, like 7 minutes on the way, because I didn't have a SIM card, Google Map, I loaded Google Map I didn't know the store too. So I loaded Google Map on my phone, and I got in the middle of the road, and then Google Map went off. I don't know where I'm going. I'm almost there because I saw on the map, but I don't know where I'm going. And coming back home would take me another like 8 minutes. And then my fingertips started feeling numb.
Frostbite?
Well, I didn't get to that stage, but my fingertips started feeling numb, and I was very scared. Although I kept it in my jacket, it was still freezing. And that day I will never forget.
You learned a good lesson?
I learned a really good lesson that no matter how you feel, like good the weather is, like just prepare. What I had to do is like just go into a shop and then pretend like I want to buy it.
Warm yourself up.
But actually, I was warming my hand. I went to this music shop. They saw jazz music. I was like, oh, nice. I really like jazz. Do you have this popular, what's his name? This Steven guy, the blind guy.
Wonder?
Yeah. I'm like, do you have his collection? And the lady seemed interested. She was like, oh, she was showing me the collection. And I was like, you don't know why I'm here. I'll come back and buy.
No, I have similar story. I remember it was about month 3 into the winter, and I was tired of all the heavy clothing and the one way of dressing, right? And the sister wanted to look cute. So, I mean, I just decided, I looked out, it wasn't snowing.
Okay.
Big mistake, right? It wasn't snowing, so I assumed it wasn't that cold. And I didn't check the temperature, right? So, I just wore my fleece. Well, I mean, it was fleece, so it was thick.
Yeah.
Put on my winter boots, put something cute on. I was looking cute in my room, but definitely not for by the time I walked from my apartment to my block. Okay, I will tell you the rest of the story later, right? So, it's interesting, some of the things that you need to consider beyond academics, just something as simple as the weather, right? What other considerations do you go through? Which other things do you go through in a day that are negligible back home, even if you were a student in Ghana?
I'll say the one thing that we mostly neglect is haircut.
Haircut.
That's a funny one because I thought like Americans have like good haircuts, but when you come to Houghton, I mean, prepared to have a bushy hair. Like, look at my hair right now. It's not looking.
Or change your hairstyle.
Change your hairstyle. People braid their hair by, some African families may like it, others may not really like it. So you have to consider where you come from, which is important. Never forget. I'll say that learn to cut your hair. Like this hair, I cut it myself. So one thing that will help you is that when you buy the trim, how do you call it? The clippers, it has like guides.
Okay.
So you cannot go wrong. So just start from like the biggest and then reduce.
Exactly. And if you're a lady, learn to braid your hair, because I did this my hair really. I just hair myself.
Yourself, yeah. And it can be expensive.
It's expensive.
It can go up.
It's expensive.
Like $250. Convert it. It's like,
so more or less every graduate student needs to be a hairdresser or at least when you are in Odin. And the reason is because it's predominantly white.
right.
So it's not as though we don't have, people who can cut hair. They just are not used to our kind of hair and our kind of style. So I think one of the things that we also need to understand is when you see somebody with dreads or with a different hairstyle than that person would ordinarily wear in Ghana, it's not because the person is woke or because sometimes it's just because that person has no barber. It's a more convenient style.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
So let's talk about places to hang out, because you've made us understand that your program it can be stressful, right? So how do you de-stress?
Distressing is a sensitive one because it's really tied to your personality.
Okay.
For instance, if you're introverted, you cannot distress by going to the bar, the club, or going to sit in highly populated areas. People who are extroverted will like it. They gain energy from people. Some of us, we like to be in our own space. I like to play the keyboard. So sometimes I look at a fun tutorial, something that's really challenging.
Okay.
And then I try to learn. And that's one of the ways I distress. Or I listen to music, sleep, watch movie. But there are fun things to do. For instance, in the summer, you can go hiking.
Hiking, okay.
You can go and walk in the forest.
Have you ever gone hiking, Kobina?
Like, it's a calling.
How is it a calling? Pick up your gear, find a group of hikers and then
go with them. I mean, I haven't. This summer I plan on doing a lot of things because last summer was really tight for me. I didn't have that flexibility. But this summer I plan on hiking. There's something called kayaking where you have a boat and then you just sit on the river or the lake and then you let the ripples or the waves carry you. Yeah. Which is nice.
I hope you know how to swim.
Well, as an African, I'm not alone. There are a lot of non-swimmers.
No, but if you are going to go near, large water bodies, you need to know how to swim. So you can come to the SDC and then teach you how to swim.
I would love that.
Yes. So that
ladies,
just well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the go straight and the lots of things and all that when we get there. But I mean, if you are venturing or trying to take up other activities like your suggestion, you should know what comes with it and
exactly the risk,
the risk associated with it. Right now, let's talk about relationships.
Okay.
Right. And I know you have a lot of advice to do. There are a lot of experiences, right?
Okay.
If you don't mind me asking, what is your take on having a long distance relationship when you are a graduate student, where your partner is somewhere back home and you are here? What is your take?
I may not have that much experience in that regard because I haven't been in that situation. Because a long distance relationship can be like where you are not seeing your partner. It can be whether they are home or they are here but in a different city, different state somewhere. It's just that you don't meet physically.
Yeah.
I think it depends on commitment. If you have a partner back home and then you really love the person and you think that they are the ones for you, it will be hard and challenging because you see other people moving on with their partners,
okay.
And then it's very cold here. And then especially
what has the cold got to do with it being this thing?
You know, we are human. Okay, we are wired to have connection. So it sometimes when we feel cold, if I feel cold, I just take my blanket.
I not to laugh. Kobina is trying so hard to hurt his words and to be more charitable about the way he's presented it.
Yeah, we are all grown ups here. No, especially people in the graduate school. There's no child here. Some of these things, even when you come to America, it's not like how we say back home in Africa, where some of these things, relationship and boy-girl stuff, or whatever gender they identify as, some of these things we don't really talk about. But here, you have the urge because you're a human. And if you have a partner back home and then you see your friends moving along with their partners, you may feel a little bit sad, especially if it's very hard to get them here if they're back home. And then plane ticket is expensive, so you cannot just go back home and see them, have fun, and come back. So it's a little bit challenging. I would say that if you are coming to the United States or wherever you are going to study and you have a partner, prepare yourself because it's not going to be easy. Prepare yourself to withstand some of these challenges, and I know that you can do it if you can. Yeah, you can.
So, do you recommend, given the intensity of the program here, given the constraints of being here and trying to excel academically and all the other challenges that comes with being in a different cultural space, would you recommend for people who are coming here that they maintain that relationship that they are seriously cultivating, nurturing, or you'd advise? What would be your advice?
Well, I would say that let your partner understand some of these things, some of these challenges that you meet. Let them know the risks associated with you going, because there's been a lot of situations where people come here and they neglect their partners. If you are listening and you have a partner coming to the traveling for school and you are not going to see them for 2 years, talk to them. Like, be intentional about this conversation, because humans, we change gradually and progressively. And dissociation for like 2 years and seeing new people, meeting new people, can gradually shift their attention, especially if like the conversation is one way, like, hello, how are you? Have you eaten? What time did you sleep? And you should also remember that there's a 5-hour difference in the winter, and it comes back to 4 hours. So while you are sleeping, maybe they're awake, and while they are sleeping, you're awake. So it can really distort the conversation.
So the strain of the relationship.
Exactly.
Even if it's not malicious, right?
Right.
They are just natural factors that may put some strain and tension on the relationship.
Exactly.
And it will affect the health of
the relationship.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, and I agree with you on, being open about the conversation.
Right.
It's best to lay it all out there, right? Understand it, right? Yeah. All the possibilities. So sometimes we like to live in that bubble of, oh, I'm going and fine and all that, and not necessarily communicate some of the expected constraints, the expected risk. Sometimes it's a risk, and we need to name it as such, right? Because you come in, then you might have an advisor who isn't very understanding, demands so much of you.
Yeah.
You come back from the lab, and you are exhausted. You don't want to talk, or you had a very bad day. You just don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Right? But your partner also requires you to talk.
Because that's all you have, like.
That's all you have. It's conversation, but you are exhausted. You have no energy to deal with people. You just want to lie down or go hide yourself at the rock, which happens sometimes. You are just done for the day, right?
Yeah.
So these are some conversations that people
you should really talk about with your partner. Some of these things. Be intentional. Mention some of the hard things. Don't hide anything. Don't hide how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
If you think that it's not going to work, you guys should come up with a plan, or like just
call it quit.
What's that?
It sounded like you are saying they can call it quit.
No, it depends on them. I mean, don't quit if you love each other, but you should know that it's risky.
The love back home is not the same when you are apart.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? It looks different. The fact that I don't get to talk to you 2, 3, 4 hours an end doesn't mean I don't love you. I don't want to be. Sometimes there are things happening here that sometimes it's even hard to put it in words. People who don't understand some of the struggles of being in graduate school.
And every day you're in the lab, and every day you don't get time for me, and every day you always use your supervisor stressing you.
That's an excuse, right?
And I'm even tired. But that's the reality.
The reality.
And every time you're tired, and every time you're sleeping, and you don't, please, before they come, sit them down and talk about some of these things. Tell them that these are the expectations. That's why you're listening to us. These are some of the realities that people, I haven't faced them.
He would tell you. He would tell you.
So these are some of the realities on the ground that you have to really, really consider if you are actually considering a future with this person. You should get maybe someone involved, like your parents, some form of commitment if you think it will be a problem, like an engagement if you think that will bring a security factor into I'm not. These are some of the,
and that is where I think we differ. Like, don't rush. It sounds like a very rush thing to do.
Yeah, I'm just
that's because for that security, you'd like to, go and do some really rush thing.
Yeah.
Because that one person will feel insecure because you are aware or not.
Exactly.
For me, I think we differ on that.
I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm saying that if both of you agree, like this is a 2-person agreement or relationship. If you all come up with that idea that, oh, I'm a guy, I have feelings, but I think that if we put this constraint, it will help me focus. It will give me something to look back and say that, oh, I'm engaged to someone, I don't have to do this. It serves as a guidance for you, not necessarily as tying your hands.
Okay,
right?
All right.
So it depends on how you look at it and what perspective you are considering this idea. It's an open-ended choice. You can find your own way of maintaining this relationship. It's solely up to the two of you to figure out how to go about it.
Okay. So, all right. Now, since we are talking about constraint, I want us to talk about finances. Right? Money.
Right.
When you're a graduate student, you need money.
A lot.
Whether you are funded or not. You are funded, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? So tell me about being funded. I mean, as much as you want to tell us, right? So that people will learn, because we come out here with lofty ideas and we come out with lofty beliefs of what it's, the American idea, the Hollywood idea that we see on camera, right?
Right.
What does it entail to be a financially okay person on the program? On the program,
right? This is an important aspect. It's even associated with your visa. I think it's one of the questions they ask you. That how are you going to support yourself? Because you should pay attention to the fact that as an F1 student,
what is an F1 student?
So an F1 student is it's a non-immigrant visa given to people who have the sole aim of coming to study in the United States, and that's the part we forget, and going back home.
Okay, so you are an F1 student.
Yeah.
I am an F1 student.
Right.
So anyone in the graduate program, well, most people, not everybody.
Yeah.
Most people have F1 visas.
F1 status.
Okay.
Some people also have J status. Some people are visiting scholars. There are a lot of different kinds of visas and their requirements. I know about F1 because I'm F1. And you should know that you are constrained with where you can work and how many hours you can work if you are not supported. We see a lot of people going through struggles if they are not supported. because one, you have to find a way of paying your tuition.
Exactly.
And also to support yourself in terms of accommodation and food. And this can be very challenging. I'm not saying that it's impossible. We have a lot of people who are not supported. They are doing great. Some are doing marvelous even than supported students. But you should consider that the F1 status is designed not to make you rich. They'll make sure that they'll make sure that you have something to eat, you can pay your bills, and then you can save a little for rainy days. But you are not going to be rich as a student. So if you have that mindset, please reconsider and use another. Yeah. But as a supported student, one of the perks is that I don't have to think about paying my tuition. And also Health insurance.
Yeah. Let's look at the other aspect of your life here. And so, you just finished a wonderful term. Yes, you and your other officials did a wonderful job, I must say.
Thank you.
It was. No, and so you start with a lot of stress, but you ease your way to it, and at the end of the day, you people did so well for the association. Tell me about your experience.
So leadership, it's something you want to consider, especially if you're a student. I'm not saying that it's a requirement, but it helps build up that skill. For instance, how to tolerate people, having a leader who is not very open or having a leader who is too open. It helps you know what kind of people you'll be working with, especially if you go in industry or if you're going to work, some of the things to expect and how to deal with some of these things. I think it also opened me up to a lot of temperament, especially with people. I won't say who are above me, but people who hold positions, higher positions, like vice president, or even the treasurer. Dealing with some of these people takes time, and then you have to learn how they communicate, one, and then how to deal with that. So I'll say that my experience, the way I see it, is that I was building myself up, and also contributing my best to the community. I was a general secretary. I had to keep track of minutes. I had to book rooms for events. So
send all the communication to our...
Yeah, send all the communication to the page. And I remember one time I was working and someone met me and the guy who has been disturbing us with the messages from the group. I'm yeah, I'm the guy. I'm now the messenger guy. So it's a good opportunity if you have some of these things. It helps build you up as an individual, personal development. People, especially jobs look out for leadership potential in people. They want to see that you did something, you contributed, you made an impact, and some of these things set you up. It gives you something to talk about. For instance, if you have no leadership experience, and let's say your recruiter wants to talk about what you've done, and they ask you, have you done anything related to leadership? And if you don't have some of these experiences, you have to create something. So it's definitely a plus, and
so it really if the position ever comes out, if any position in the ASO comes out, be sure to give it a shot.
Right.
You don't need any qualification to do that. No. You just have to be willing to
work with people
and learn on
each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you and your people organized a wonderful ASO week. Night, right?
Yeah.
After 2 years break from COVID, this was the first. Tell me about the experience.
It wasn't easy. There were a lot of ups and downs. Booking a venue, we had to, I don't know, because we were having African activities, a little bit, I don't want to use aggressive, but it's a little bit...
it involves a lot.
It involves, yeah. And some of the buildings and some of the venues cannot really tolerate that kind of activity. So it put a little restraint on us. Getting people to perform, everybody is busy. We cannot get people to help or contribute to what we are doing. It wasn't an easy time, but we had a good president, a very proactive person. Shout out to James if you are watching. He did a really good job with the help of the team. We were able to secure an accommodation. We were able to secure a place to prepare our meals. We were able to get some African food ingredients from outside. We were able to do all the little things that really helped the program. So I'll say that it wasn't easy. You should have a very good leader who has a vision, or you should create what you want to see. You want to see how the program will be, and then you work together. Do this. Kobina, you are in charge of music, entertainment, performances. You are in charge of handling food. Gather a team, cook. You are in charge of this, and once we work as a team, everything was wonderful.
Right. So going forward, that's my last question. Going forward, ASO has improved so much. We've had, more, a greater number of students coming in than I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Our numbers have really increased, and our problems still have increased. Our levels and the fathers also increased, right? Yeah. So going forward, what is that one advice you give to Africans in the university, people within the association? How do we make it better for ourselves as an organization, as individuals?
I think one major thing is unity, because we are seen as a smaller group of people, and then some people come here and they are not really accepted by some of the members. I'll say that members in the organization open up, accept people, encourage people to be part of the group. And if you are new, try to integrate into the group, be part, do something, attend meetings, help with some of these things. ASO will help you if you ask for help, or when we see that you need help. For instance, we created help for people to pick people from the airport. If you don't get in contact, we don't know you get to the airport, you are stranded. It's not because we are not doing our job, it's because we don't know you are coming and you haven't really associated with us. So I'll say that going forward, let's form a united group. Let's have a united front. Let our voice be one, our goals be one. If you're a member, if you see your friend, say hi, connect, irrespective of where you come from, Kenya, Togo, Ghana, Nigeria. Have one voice, come together as a group. What we see, some people that come here is, after a while, they kind of dissociate themselves from the group or from the association. And then you ask them and they are like, oh, this person didn't treat me right. Or this person stepped on my foot. But these things happen. We are humans. We can't always be perfect. Exactly. When you have some of these situations, talk to an executive or mention it. We are very easy people to deal with, especially when we are being spoken to. So I'll say that if you feel someone stepped on your toe or someone did something you didn't like, just talk to the person or look for someone, and let's maintain that unity amongst ourselves. And that's all we can. I think that's.
And the last word, look in the camera and give one advice to potential students, people who would like to come to MT. One thing that they should keep up here, and in their foot.
One thing I would say to people who are traveling, and this is what one of the advice my mom gave me and my brother gave me, is never forget where you come from. Don't think that you have traveled, things are working, the system is working, glass in corner. If you don't understand, it's glass everywhere. Never forget your background, never forget your roots, never undermine your values, the values that you were built up with. Never. Sometimes you may have to compromise, but don't compromise too much that devalues the integrity that you have. So when you are coming, I would say that just keep it in mind that you will go back home one day, and whatever you do, you'll be accountable for. So be a person of integrity, hold your values up high, and if you are religious, keep your religion. And if you are not, I mean, do what
Do you
but remember your roots and know that this is not your home. You're a traveler. You're a visitor, and one day you go back home. So live your life according to that, and then everything should work together for your good.
So all too soon, we've come to the end of another session of ASO Conversation. And today, as I mentioned, we had a lovely interview with Kobina Ofori. He had so much to share and so much advice to give. I wrap up by saying, whenever you travel, whether as a student, as a tourist, or just, from business, don't forget who you are. Always remember you are African. Take pride in who you are and build on it. Till we meet again. It's bye.